In no particular order, this is what you're going to need to change the front tire on a Yamaha V-Star 1100 motorcycle. A breaker bar for your axle, a torque wrench, various wrenches of your choice, 2 large bungee cords, 2 small bungee cords, a 6mm hex Allen wrench, 12mm socket, 12mm wrench, 19mm socket, a brake spreader, a valve stem remover, a tire clamp, axle grease, 1, 2, 3 spoon bars with preferably no marring tips, a rim protector, a wrench or some other object, a large screwdriver, a crowbar, some wheel weights, about 4 or 5 of these shim bars, 1x2s, and various cutting instruments able to cut through steel belted radials. And in addition to that, you'll need a motorcycle jack, a D404F Dunlop tire, a tire changer, air compressor, and finally a tire balancer. And about 6 to 12 of these. For those of you wanting to do this by the book, here's a manual with exploded diagram as well as the procedures. But for others of you who want to know when it's time to change your tire, here is a good inclination. These have natural built-in high points where you can see, you can't see them here, but look over here. These are completely worn through. That tells you it's time to change your tire. Now, even though I think this rim can go on either direction, I think it's symmetrical. I like to put a piece of tape on when I'm starting with the arrow of the existing tire, going with the arrow of the rim, and I put a piece of tape on the new tire too, just so if there is a deviation, I won't put it on backwards or something. Alright, when jacking up your Yamaha V-Star 1100, center point's right where my finger is, pretty much between those 2 bolts, the kickstand and this other bolt. And you're going to need 1-inch shims everywhere on the bike except the front left. Alright, on the right hand side of the bike, we're going to remove our great brake calipers with a 12mm socket. Just let that dangle, or you can pin it up with a bungee cord, which I'll probably do. And likewise, go to the left and take off your 2 brake caliper bolts right there too. And down by the axle, you got a thing called a pitch bolt. You're going to use a 6mm, and you don't need to take it out, just loosen it. And now we're going to take out our axle bolt. That is a 19mm. Remove your axle, and your tire will come free. After your front wheel's off, you want to remove these collars. There's one on each side. Just set them aside. At the end, you'll probably re-grease them. After that, get a valve stem remover, and we're going to take it out of our tube. But don't lose this part, because you're going to need it later when you reinstall your tube, unless you got a new one. Then set the tire on your tire changer, and we're going to break the bead all the way around. Flip it over and do the other side as well too. Alright, after your bead is broken, you may choose to use tire clamps to separate your rim a little bit, because when you flip it over, you're going to want your valve stem to be centered down here. Once all your sides are locked in place, go ahead and turn your arm and secure it. And if you are using the Nomar Pro tire changer, I'm just going to make a note. The rear side stays on the yellow dot, which you break your tire with. This arm is on the 3rd notch in, and this arm with the sticker is on the 2nd notch in. Alright, let me explain here. What I did is I put in a rim protector initially. Then this is the stick you stick in Actually, it goes in like this, then you lock it so that you can pull your tire over the tube. Now, as long as this is an old tire, I just get me some cutters and get it in there, because your tube really isn't in that area, and give myself some slack on this tire. Now, if you were going to reuse this tire, you can't do it this way, obviously, if you just wanted to replace the tube. But on a new tire change, I just get rid of the old one this way, because this is a very tight fit in here. Now, once we cut this, I had to use a combination of instruments to kind of break the things, the steel belt. But now that we got a little hole, use whatever you can. I'm going to use a wrench, the back end of a wrench, to keep my place so I can continue on this journey. And I'll just rest it underneath my rotor like so, so it keeps tension there. After we do that, let's re-lube our tire where we're going to be going and continue on our way. At this time, use a 12mm wrench, and this is where you want to remove your nut. Now what we're going to do is remove 90% of our tube. We're going to leave our valve stem in because it's too hard to get that out with this thing the way it is. Then we're going to remove the second half of our tire. And once again, we put our stick down, grab that other side, give it a quick lube again towards the rim part, and go for it. Remember to follow along from behind and pull up right behind so you don't lose any work you've done. There you go. Now inspect your tube, especially of the area in question, because we had to do some of that grabbing and cutting over here. Your valve stem should still be at the bottom. And just to test it, pump your tire up and hit it with some of your soapy waterness there. Make sure there's no bubbles. Then we're going to continue on with the new tire. Okay, lots of stuff to show. First of all, my rim, my tape on the bottom there is going this way, so I know that's the left side. And likewise, you got my original tire here that I put the same tape on, so I know it's going the same direction. And finally, see this yellow dot right down there? Where is it? Right there. That yellow dot, that's going to go over our valve stem, which is at the bottom 6 o'clock position. So our tire is going to go exactly like that. Alright, with some No Mar tire paste, we're going to goop our rim up here on the outside between 10 and 2. We're also going to goop our tire going on between 10 and 2. And when it gives you trouble, because it will, just grab some No Mar tire changing spoon bars and stick them underneath the part that's open. And just help that tire on like so. And I call this jockey style. I got one spoon bar in my crotch, and I got the other one over here. Pow. Alright. One side on. Okay, so after that snafu, make sure your yellow dot is still aligned with your valve stem. Then we're going to take our inner tube and start threading it in, top to bottom. Okay, once you got your inner tube in, you're going to discover something, that you're not talented enough to get that valve stem through that hole because your tire is too high up. So I'm going to show you a little trick I learned. Okay, first pull your valve stem tube out just a little bit. Then we're going to go look underneath here. Let's put on a rim protector and protect our rim right underneath the valve stem and yellow dot. Then we're going to use this crowbar and drag our tire outside like so. And then in the weighting here, I already have a bungee cord that I'm going to use to secure that and hold it. Now we're back on top, and now we can go ahead and put our tube back inside the tire and get yourself a couple 1x2 shims, and we're going to put those on either side. I mean, I'll leave about 6 inches on either side, and this is going to be our workspace. Now what you will realize is you got room all over the place in there now, and that valve stem that was so hard and elusive is just going to want to pop right in and impress you now. There it is. Go ahead and secure it with that nut that you took off earlier, and we're just going to air it up real quick to make sure all the kinks are out. You can go ahead and tighten the nut at this time. Alright, in hindsight, I just mounted this tire, but I'm going to show you what I used, and I'm going to show you how I did it in time-lapse photography. But you're going to need 2 bungee cords, possibly a tire clamp to hold your spot, and you're going to need not 1, not 2, but 3 spoon bars at times. So get all this ready, because you're going to need it. And here's how you mount the tire. That frickin' sucked. With your tire mounted now, it's time to undo your clamps. Pull it out and bounce it around. Alright, take your valve stem. It's time to put that back in now. Alright, now it's time to air it up. We're going to air it up till we hear a pop. Sounds kind of like that, but a pop. And we're going to wait till all these gaps are gone. Overinflate first. Alright, once your tire is nicely seated on the rim in both sides, we're going to deflate to 33 psi for the front tire. Next, remove any existing tire weights you may have on your bike. Usually a screwdriver, you can pry them apart a little and then slip them down. They'll come off. Next, get yourself a tire balancer and put your cones in either side with the shaft, and make sure you're on level pavement. Check it with the level before you do this. Then we're just going to let the tire put the tire on, spin it, and let it rest. The tire will come to a complete stop, and then it'll start backpedaling. You want to let it backpedal until it comes to a complete stop. And then what you're going to do is you're going to mark it. For instance, on this one, we're going to mark the top. So we're going to mark it. And then after you discovered where your light point is, you're going to take a small wheel weight, put it on there, clamp it down with some pliers, or if you're using stick-ons, put them on there with masking tape first. Then respin your tire and then let it settle until you get a tire that really doesn't spin. You spin it and it stops. You spin it and it stops, and so on. Then you're done. Then get yourself some heavy duty grease. This is, I don't know, bearing grease or something, and generously get these guys all mungered up. Put it inside, outside, everywhere, because these are basically going to be your first line of defense to save your bearings, from what I can gather. This keeps all the dust and water and anything that can ruin your bearings out of the axle area. And then, as per the directions, it also says to generously put it on the axle shaft here. Now we're going to take these two parts that we took off earlier and greased. We're going to put these spacers or collars back in, as they're called. Make sure that grease is all nice and around those things. Then, using your pelvic area, we're going to get under, bring our tire back up to where it needs to be. And grab our axle and get it through there. Ta-da! Then get your torque wrench, set it to 43 foot-pounds. That's the pound pressure of the front axle. After your axle is torqued, don't forget to retighten your pitch bolt. And now what I like to do is use a brake spreader. Let's wedge it in the brakes, and it's a lot easier to put it back on the rotor if you claps the pistons. So let's get one of these and give it a few turns. Not much, just like a few millimeters will do it. Then we're going to mount this back onto our rotor, and it'll go nice and easy like that. Alright, once your brake caliper is back on, go ahead and replace those two bolts, and these are going to be torqued to 29 inches. Now repeat putting your brake caliper on the left side and torque it to those specifications too, and then make sure before you start doing anything, pump your brakes back up, because they will be gone. And it looks like they're back. Alright, you're all done.